All right, former New Jersey Governor Christie getting the cold shoulder at this year's Faith and Freedom Coalition conference after he said this about former President Trump.
Why am I running for president of the United States? Because he's let us down. He has let us down because he's unwilling. He's unwilling to take responsibility for any of the mistakes that were made, any of the faults that he has, and any of the things that he's done. And that is not leadership, everybody. That is a failure of leadership. And you can boo all you want.
Former counselor to President Trump and Fox News contributor Kellyanne Conway joins us now. Kellyanne, good morning. Glad to have you on the show.
Good morning.
And glad to have you answer this question we debated a little bit earlier in the program. Christie clearly thinks his path to something is to be the anti-Trump, to take him on, to combat him. But what's the point in doing it in that environment where he knows the crowd is going to be largely comprised of supporters of President Trump? Why give that message in that environment?
Yes, Christie is a very smart guy and was governor of a blue state for 2 terms and a very dear friend of Donald Trump's for decades. I think you got to read the room. There's a difference between being in a CNN town hall and having the adoration and adulation of the mainstream media who want Christie to be on the debate stage in August to take on Donald Trump live and in person, and showing up at Faith and Freedom. When I watched Governor Christie talk about he's let us down, he won't course correct for his mistakes, he never admits fault, I was hoping he was talking about Joe Biden and not Donald Trump, because eye on the prize, everyone. You're running against Joe Biden. He already occupies the office of president, and he's a terrible president. He doesn't deserve a second term. We literally and figuratively cannot afford 4 more years of Joe Biden. And I believe, friends, that the Republican candidates who can take on Joe Biden hammer and tongue are going to do very well among the Republican primary electorate. Last thing, I listened to Christie when he was running for governor. We were speaking at the same breakfast, 15, 16 years ago, about 14 years ago, I was pregnant with my last one, I remember. And he gave an impassioned explanation as to how he went from being pro-choice to pro-life. I think messages like that in a forum like that yesterday are much better.
Yeah, that would have been really nice to hear. I guess we've been sitting here pondering all morning, like, what is his end game here? I remember, Kellyanne, I used to be on The View. I've been a co-host on The View, over a dozen times. And when I would be in the green room, I would remind myself, the people out there at the table and in the audience are not my audience. And that's what I think that he was doing. I think maybe he's auditioning for something else, like maybe his audience is a contract at, another network that wants a Republican who's willing to take on and criticize Donald Trump. Is that what it is? Is this I don't know. What else could it be?
Well, Christie just gave up a network contract. He's been an ABC analyst for many years, gave that up to run for president. I think that there are the 30, 35 people currently in this country who are running for president in some way, shape, or form, or think they should. And then there's the other 335 million of us. So it's a very distinct group that believes they are best suited for the job. I'll say this. Here's the impossibility for every single candidate out there. On the one hand, if you're going to run against Donald Trump, you have to attack Donald Trump. On the other hand, you have to attract the Trump voters. And it literally is impossibly, mathematically, let alone chemistry-wise, another subject, to do that. I think that Governor DeSantis has found that brick wall pretty early on, because he should have done what I think some of these other candidates will do, which is don't position yourself as the alternative to Trump. Position yourself as the alternative to Joe Biden. That's the advice I would give all of them, and some of them will take it for free now. They're the highly paid consultants still sound asleep. We'll take that advice and they'll start talking about Biden, which they should be doing. Folks, it's harder than it looks to dislodge a sitting president and deny him the second term, even somebody who mumbles, stumbles, and bumbles like Joe Biden. The Democrats have no interest in quality candidates. In 2 years, they've elected John Fetterman, Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden. They're not interested in why we should vote on which issues or for whom. They're interested in where to vote, how to vote, and when to vote. This is all about process and power for them.
100%.
Nobody better to break it down. You're exactly right. There's an immovable object in this Republican field, and no one's figured out how to dislodge it. Kellyanne Conway, thank you so much.
And he's speaking to that group tonight. He's their keynote speaker tonight, and he'll do very well.
Yeah. Thank you, Kellyanne, as always.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.